Have you ever noticed how some women don't seem to chase attention, yet somehow they're the ones everyone notices? It's not luck, it's not looks, it's power. And that power begins with one word: no. You see, smart women don't attract amazing men by saying yes to everything. They attract them by refusing the things that drain their value, time, and energy. The truth is, what you tolerate becomes what you attract. And when you learn to say no from a place of confidence instead of fear, something magnetic happens. People start respecting you, craving your presence, and valuing your attention. But here's the twist. Most women never realize saying no isn't about rejection. It's about protection. Protection of your peace, your standards, and your worth. It's about choosing yourself first, even when it feels uncomfortable, because the moment you stop overgiving, overproving, or over-explaining, you start to glow differently. Men can feel that difference. A woman who values herself doesn't chase validation. She creates it. She doesn't beg to be chosen. She is the choice. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the 5 powerful things that smart women refuse, and why those refusals make them irresistible to the right kind of man. The one who's drawn not to her availability, but to her self-respect. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right but still not attracting the love you deserve, stay tuned. This might just be the mindset shift that changes everything. Have you ever caught yourself bending over backwards to make someone comfortable, even when it left you feeling drained, unseen, or unappreciated? It starts small. You cancel your plans to fit his schedule. You laugh at jokes that don't land. You tell yourself, if I just give a little more, maybe he'll finally see my worth. But the truth is, over-accommodating doesn't make you more lovable. It makes you invisible. Smart women know this. They've learned that constantly giving without balance doesn't build attraction. It builds resentment. Because when you keep proving your value, you send a silent message that you don't believe you already have it. Men don't fall for women who give them everything. They fall for women who make them earn access to their energy. Think about it. Real attraction grows in space, not suffocation. When you over-accommodate, you remove the mystery, the challenge, and the respect. A man who gets everything too easily doesn't learn to appreciate it. He learns to expect it. Saying no to over-accommodating isn't cold, it's confident. It means you understand that your needs, time, and peace matter just as much as anyone else's. You stop trying to manage how others feel about you, and start managing how you feel about yourself. You learn to say things like, that doesn't work for me, or I'd love to, but I already have plans, without guilt or apology. And something magical happens when you do. The energy shifts. You move from chasing connection to commanding respect. The right man will notice. He'll step up, lean in, and value your boundaries, because they tell him exactly who you are. A woman who doesn't need validation to know her worth. So if you've ever felt that giving more was the way to keep love, this is your reminder. Love grows when both people give equally, not when one person keeps pouring from an empty cup. In the next part, we'll talk about another powerful refusal that smart women practice, and it's one that completely changes the dynamic in dating and relationships. Stay with me. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood dynamics in dating: chasing. For so many women, it doesn't even feel like chasing at first. It feels like showing interest, putting in effort, or making things work. You text first, you initiate plans, you overanalyze every little detail just to make sure he doesn't lose interest. You tell yourself, if I just prove that I care, he'll see I'm different. But here's the truth. Every time you try to prove your worth to a man, you actually communicate that you doubt it. Smart women don't chase, and it's not because they play games. It's because they understand that attraction and respect can't be earned through pursuit. They're created through presence. When a woman stops chasing, she steps into her power. She allows space for the man to show up, to invest, to take initiative. She doesn't fill every silence with a message, or every delay with an explanation. Instead, she allows curiosity to build. She understands that in the right connection, effort is mutual. Here's the key difference. Chasing energy says, I hope you choose me. Confident energy says, I'm open if you can meet me here. That subtle shift changes everything. It draws in emotionally mature men, the kind who are attracted not to how available you are, but to how grounded you are. Refusing to chase doesn't mean you never show interest. It means you express interest once, then allow him to meet you halfway. It means you don't fight for a place in someone's life who isn't making space for you. Because if you have to convince someone to see your value, they're not ready for it. High-value women know they don't compete for love. They align with it. They don't text paragraphs explaining what they bring to the table. Their energy, boundaries, and peace speak for them. They don't audition for a role in someone's life. They are the main character in their own. And the result, the right kind of man recognizes that presence. He steps into the pursuit with clarity and consistency, because he knows he's dealing with a woman who won't chase him, replace him, or settle for breadcrumbs. She values effort, not excuses. So the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause, take a breath. Remind yourself that real love doesn't require persuasion. It flows toward mutual effort, not one-sided convincing. The women who attract deeply loyal men aren't the ones doing the most. They're the ones doing the least, while knowing their energy is worth everything. In the next segment, we'll explore how smart women elevate that same confidence through boundaries. Not walls, but graceful standards that redefine what they accept and how they're treated. There's a quiet kind of strength that doesn't shout or demand attention. It simply exists. That's the energy of a woman who knows her boundaries. She doesn't need to argue, beg, or prove a point because her standards speak for her. And that's what makes her so magnetic. Boundaries aren't walls. They're filters. They don't keep people out. They keep the wrong energy out. Smart women know that setting boundaries isn't about control. It's about clarity. It's the difference between saying, "Don't disrespect me," and simply walking away the moment someone does. When you set boundaries with grace, you're not being harsh or distant. You're being loving toward yourself. You're saying, "I care about my peace more than I care about pleasing someone who doesn't value it." That energy doesn't push good men away. It attracts them, because healthy men respect women who respect themselves. Graceful boundaries are quiet but powerful. They don't come from anger or fear, but from self-awareness. You know what drains you, what energizes you, and what aligns with your values, and you act accordingly. You don't need to explain why you won't tolerate certain behaviors. Your actions say enough. Here's what graceful boundaries look like in real life. You don't chase apologies, you accept actions. You don't wait around for clarity, you create it. You don't stay in confusing situations, you choose peace instead. And you never confuse patience with self-betrayal. The beauty of boundaries is that they teach others how to treat you without you ever having to demand it. You move differently. You speak differently. You stop reacting and start responding. That calm confidence is irresistible because it communicates security, and men crave that energy more than perfection. Setting boundaries doesn't make you difficult. It makes you distinct. It tells the world you have emotional discipline, that you can care deeply without losing yourself in the process. You can love someone and still say, "This doesn't feel right for me." That level of grace and self-respect is what separates women who settle from women who shine. So when you're tempted to bend your boundaries to keep someone close, remember, every time you do, you teach them that your peace is negotiable. And once someone learns that, they'll keep testing it. The moment you decide that your boundaries are non-negotiable, lovingly, calmly, and consistently, is the moment you become untouchable in the best way possible. Coming up next, we'll dive into something equally powerful: how smart women say no to emotional neglect, and why protecting your emotional space is the ultimate act of self-love. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes that silence, indifference, and inconsistency hurt more than rejection ever could. That moment, painful as it is, becomes the spark of awakening, because emotional neglect isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's hidden behind words like, "I've just been busy," or "You're overthinking it." It's the unanswered messages, the lack of effort, the emotional distance that leaves you feeling like you're asking for too much when all you wanted was connection. Smart women have learned to stop explaining that kind of neglect. They've stopped shrinking their needs just to make someone comfortable with giving less. They understand something powerful: that emotional availability isn't a luxury, it's a requirement, and when it's missing, no amount of potential, chemistry, or history can make up for its absence. Saying no to emotional neglect isn't about walking away with anger, it's about walking away with awareness. It's choosing to no longer romanticize inconsistency. It's realizing that love without effort is just illusion, and you deserve something real. For too long, many women were conditioned to equate patience with love, to wait for a man to change, to hope he'd suddenly start communicating or showing up differently. But smart women stop waiting for potential. They respond to patterns. If he goes days without checking in, if he avoids emotional conversations, if he makes you feel lonely while standing right beside you, that's not a phase, that's a message. And here's the truth. Most people don't want to admit. When you tolerate emotional neglect, you slowly teach yourself to live without emotional safety. You become used to crumbs, and you start calling it enough. But it's not enough. Not for the woman who knows her worth. Smart women say no to that dynamic, because they know that being loved halfway feels worse than not being loved at all. They refuse to chase someone who keeps them emotionally hungry. Instead, they invest that energy into themselves, their peace, their growth, their self-expression. They build a life so full that neglect has no place to hide in it. When you stop accepting emotional neglect, you shift the energy in every relationship you have, romantic, professional, even friendships. You start to see who's capable of showing up, and who was only around because you kept carrying the emotional weight for both of you. It's not coldness, it's clarity. You stop trying to convince someone to care and start surrounding yourself with people who naturally do. And here's the beautiful part. The moment you decide you won't settle for emotional crumbs, the universe meets you with abundance. The men you attract change. They're attentive, emotionally mature, and consistent, because your energy no longer entertains anything less. You don't have to demand attention. Your standards quietly command it. Saying no to emotional neglect is an act of deep self-respect. It's telling the world, I will no longer participate in relationships that require me to abandon myself. And that decision, that sacred boundary, doesn't just change how men treat you, it changes how you treat you. In the next section, we'll explore the final and perhaps most transformative refusal of all. Why smart women say no to settling for less, and how that choice reshapes their entire life and love story. There's a moment every strong woman faces. A quiet, life-changing decision, where she looks at what she's accepting, and finally says, no more. That's the moment she stops settling. Not because she's bitter or hard to please, but because she finally understands her worth on a soul-deep level. Settling isn't just about being with the wrong person. It's about betraying your own potential. It's agreeing to less passion, less honesty, less respect than you deserve, just to feel temporarily safe. But safety built on compromise isn't peace. It's quiet disappointment. And smart women learn that lesson early. They know that a connection that costs your self-respect is too expensive to keep. Refusing to settle is an act of self-trust. It's choosing to believe that the love you imagine actually exists, and you don't have to beg for it. It's the courage to walk away from almost right, so that you can create space for something extraordinary. Too often, women are told to be realistic, to lower their expectations, to stop being too much. But the truth is, the only people who say that are the ones who benefit from you expecting less. The right man won't call your standards too high. He'll see them as an invitation to rise. When a woman refuses to settle, she stops accepting breadcrumbs disguised as effort. She doesn't cling to potential or excuses. She listens to patterns, not promises. She understands that love isn't proven by words, but by consistency, emotional availability, and mutual respect. And when she feels a misalignment, she doesn't force it, she lets it go with grace. That kind of confidence doesn't come overnight. It's built through the pain of past lessons, the relationships where she gave too much, waited too long, and lost herself trying to make things work. But those experiences weren't failures. They were foundations. They taught her what she'll never tolerate again. They shaped the unshakable version of her that stands here now, whole, grounded, and unwilling to trade peace for companionship. When you stop settling, you stop chasing closure, you stop begging for effort, you stop measuring your value by how much someone else can see it. You become your own validation, your own security, your own peace. And ironically, that's when everything changes. Because high-quality love only finds you when you're no longer entertaining low-quality attention. A woman who refuses to settle doesn't need a perfect man. She desires a present one. She values communication over charm, integrity over intensity, and partnership over performance. Her life becomes full of meaning, not waiting. Her days are filled with purpose, not pursuit. So if you're standing at that crossroads, between staying where you're comfortable and stepping toward what you deserve, remember this: every time you settle, you silence your potential. But every time you walk away from less, you send a message to the world that says, I'm ready for more. And that message, it never goes unanswered. Up next, we'll wrap up this entire journey with a final reflection: how embodying these refusals doesn't just attract better men, but transforms you into the kind of woman who inspires respect, admiration, and lasting love everywhere she goes. Confidence doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers through quiet decisions, through the boundaries you keep, the standards you uphold, and the peace you refuse to trade. The confidence of a smart woman isn't found in her ability to impress or please others. It's found in her ability to walk away, to wait, and to trust that what's meant for her will never require her to abandon herself. Every no she's learned to say, no to over-accommodating, no to chasing, no to emotional neglect, no to settling, has built the foundation of a woman who is no longer defined by how much she's loved, but by how deeply she loves herself. That kind of woman doesn't need attention to feel seen. She doesn't need validation to feel valued. She already knows who she is, and that knowing radiates in everything she does. The beauty of confidence is that it's not about perfection, it's about peace. It's being grounded enough to say, I'm not for everyone, and that's okay. It's smiling when things don't work out, because deep down, you know rejection is just redirection. Confidence doesn't mean you never feel doubt or fear. It means you move with grace, even when you do. Smart women understand that love isn't something you chase. It's something you attract when you stand firmly in your truth. You become magnetic when you stop performing for approval and start showing up authentically. That's when your energy shifts. That's when the right people find you. Not because you begged for connection, but because you became alignment itself. The truth is, high-value attraction has never been about games. It's about emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and the courage to choose yourself, even when it's hard. It's about knowing your worth so clearly that it makes others step up or step aside. The woman who lives by that truth no longer settles for temporary attention. She builds lasting respect. And that's what this entire journey has been about. Returning home to yourself. Reclaiming the parts of you that used to compromise just to feel chosen. Understanding that the moment you stop asking, am I enough, and start saying, this is who I am, you shift from seeking love to being love. You see, confidence isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to shrink. It's about standing tall in your softness, unshaken in your worth, and proud of your peace. When you live from that space, you don't just attract love, you attract life, opportunities, respect, and everything that matches your elevated energy. So as you move forward, carry this truth with you: your no is just as powerful as your yes. Every time you choose yourself, you make room for something better. Every time you walk away from less, you walk closer to more. And every time you refuse what doesn't align, you step deeper into the life and love that was always meant for you. You are not hard to love. You are simply no longer available for love that's small. And that radiant confidence, that quiet certainty, is exactly what makes smart women so magnetic. Not because they chase love, but because they embody it.